Hey guys, Justin here from Barbell Kings. Today we're going to be discussing depression. So first, I guess we'll figure out let's address what is depression. It's a set of symptoms that we've labeled as a disease. These symptoms include withdrawal from friends, lack of energy, sleep disturbances, deep feelings of sadness, preoccupation with death, loss of purpose or feelings of worthlessness. I think that's a good summary. I think most people get the general idea, basic idea of symptoms of depression. Um, so what causes these set of symptoms in the medical field? They've kind of determined that HPA axis dysfunction or dysregulation is the root cause of all the symptoms of depression. They've linked. Well, okay, let me explain. I guess what HPA axis dysfunction is. So there's a nerve ending that runs from your brain to your gut, and your gut, believe it or not, has more nerve endings in it than a dog's brain. That's not to say that dogs are dumb, but that your gut is really smart. So this HPA axis dysregulation or dysfunction is basically when your gut and brain can no longer communicate effectively with each other. There's a dysregulation, there's a dysfunction in this nerve axis or this axis, and what happens is this axis shuts down or doesn't function properly, and then parts of your brain start shutting down. The hippocampus is first. It's usually one of the there's a little groundhog over there. One of the first things to go. Let's see if you can see him. Oh, I think he ran off. Anyway, that's one of the first things to go, and that controls your sense of purpose. So I mean, that could very clearly link to a lot of symptoms of depression, but it's not. It starts there, but as it goes, other parts of the brain also start shutting down, and serotonin production starts going down, and 85% of your serotonin is actually made in the gut. So they've determined that HPA axis dysregulation or dysfunction is the cause of these symptoms. The medical community also right now is pretty much, I'm going to generalize, but probably like 80% of the researchers in this field are pretty much pointing their finger at diet and saying diet is, that's going to be their one trick pony or their golden, ticket out of here. They believe that addressing diet is going to be the cure for depression. I don't. I'm not. I don't. I don't agree. I think that's a piece of the puzzle. It's a very important piece of the puzzle, but I don't believe that it's it's the only part of this much bigger picture that I'm looking at here. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about what I think. Oh man, is the train gonna ruin my video? No. All right, give me like 5 minutes. I don't want you guys to listen to the train and wreck. Um, Thank you for your patience there. Not that you had to wait through anything. It was mostly just thinking myself, I guess. Um, four pillars of human health. I'm gonna start with stress, because stress is probably the most important. Like, stress is probably the one thing that is either the direct cause or exacerbates almost every disease. Proper stress management is absolutely critical for human health, and in the case of depression, it's no different. Oh, didn't realize there was a guy back there. It's no different. I mean, it plays a huge role. I was actually trying to find ways to link stress to depression, and I came across a study in New Zealand where they found that 60% of people with clinical depression could identify that stress was a key component or a key factor in bringing out their symptoms. Did I say 60%? It was 60% of people, and I mean, that's all kinds of stress. Work stress, relationship stress. I mean, just we do encounter a whole lot of stress in our lives, and if you don't have you know proper or good ways of managing it can really run a terrible toll. I mean, they've been studying the effects of chronic stress for like hundreds of years now. Um, but all right, besides all that, we know that stress is bad and we have to manage our stress. So how do we do that? What are some beneficial ways to do that? Um, I have a wonderful handout on my website. I'll link it below on ways to manage stress. But for the time being, I'll try and give you a good couple, like three things here. Um, Behavioral or cognitive behavioral therapy is the most effective therapy that they found for treating depression, and it was like it's another one that's a little over half. I think it's like 55 or 60% of people said that it gave them just gave them the tools, I guess, to better manage their symptoms. So not a cure of the symptoms, but somebody with clinical depression can say that they have tools to better manage their symptoms. It's obviously that's a step in the right direction. And when I didn't know anything about it, so when I researched cognitive behavioral therapy, I found a lot of techniques that also I would say translate, or I had also learned through neurolinguistic programming when I had studied that years ago. So I was like, all right, well, the techniques they use for reframing and kind of understanding your thoughts, I thought were excellent. So I would definitely back that, not only myself, but like I said, the research shows that it's extremely effective, because normally under normal circumstances, therapy is usually pretty ineffective. I shouldn't say ineffective, but it's only like 10 or 15% of people that are clinically depressed go to a therapist, and then say 6 months or a year later they're cured of their depression. Is very, very rare for something like that to happen. I'm not saying that therapy isn't helpful, but in that regard, it's certainly not a cure by itself. Cognitive behavioral therapy, any like stress management practices like yoga or meditation or mindfulness-based relaxation, Tai Chi. One of the cool things about this, when I was finding a lot of research, it's not necessarily what you do, but just having some sort of practice in place where you spend time managing your stress in a positive way. So it doesn't matter which practice you pick, but as long as you have one and you put time toward it, you'll see the benefits. So no, I have a whole lot more on the handout on my website, but I'll just leave it at that. Finding a practice to help you manage your stress. Third thing, and this is probably my favorite of the three, psilocybin mushrooms have been like the use of psilocybin mushrooms to treat depression is fascinating to me. The effects that mushrooms have on the brain, and watching brain scans. But mushrooms have this incredible ability to just rewire like neural pathways in incredible amounts of time. In incredible amounts of time. So they're like a free reset to the brain. They also, so in the opposite way that people on SSRIs or antidepressants often brain scans often show that their amygdala is at a reduced function, usually like 50 or 75% reduced of its normal brain function, that's the part of the brain that's responsible for emotional connection. So in the opposite way, that the opposite of that effect, mushrooms increase the brain activity in the amygdala, and a lot of other places, but specifically, I thought that was important to note that where SSRIs or antidepressants are kind of shutting down your ability to connect emotionally to situations and people, mushrooms are increasing your ability to create emotional connections between interactions with others. So let's see what else. Oh, it also aligns with a lot of the data they have on using mushrooms for PTSD. Just stress in general. It seems to be very effective at changing, outlooks on traumatic events. So I'll have to go in. I'll probably have to make another video or talk about some other time, like how to microdose, how to macrodose, how to trip sit, or the correct functions or ways to use these things. It's important not to mix mushrooms and SSRIs or antidepressants. Serotonin syndrome can be a real cause of concern when mixing the two. But there are plenty of people that have kind of done, gone from a real high dose of SSRIs, wean themselves off, while at the same time bringing up their use of microdosing psilocybin to kind of, replace that. Okay, so stress, sleep. So sleep is sleep, so we know that depression can cause insomnia, or even also be noted by excessive sleeping. That's another common thing that happens. That's why one of the symptoms is changes in sleep patterns, because it can go either way. It can cause you to stay up, or it can cause you to sleep excessively, or both. So we also see that sleep apnea and insomnia, like people who suffer from those, are at a much higher risk, like a 70% plus risk for having depression. So then it becomes a question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. Is your depression causing your sleep problems, or your sleep problems causing your depression? Either way, I have a handout on my website that talks about sleep hygiene, and I can give you some basic ideas now, but staying off your phone like an hour before bed, keeping your phone out of the bedroom, not looking at TVs or screens before bed, making sure that you're getting enough, setting aside enough time to sleep, managing stress, exercise helps with sleep. There's a few things on that handout I was talking about. Next, diet, which I was talking earlier. This is kind of like where most of, I won't say modern medicine, but this is where most medical professionals are looking right now. This is the spotlight is on diet being the cause or the savior, the cure for depression. So I will always push a whole foods diet, avoiding gluten, refined sugars, and seed oils. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on just a few things that few foods that we know help HPA axis regulation, and foods that can help alleviate the symptoms of depression. First one, short chain fatty acids. There's a handful of research documents published research articles on the effects of short chain fatty acids in the HPA axis, and their ability to kind of rejuvenate or help that axis come back to life. So potatoes, fruits, veggies, those are foods that are good for short chain fatty acids. B12 is so any of the B vitamins, making sure you have all your B vitamins is important, but B12 specifically for the lack of energy, that'd be like grass-fed meats. Vitamin D from freshwater fatty fish. So I can hear him. There he is. That's another important one. Live active bacteria cultures are super. There's a lot of evidence that they were saying that those alone could restore HPA axis function. So apparently we're not eating enough fermented foods, because that's where you're gonna get those. Like yogurt, that's why they have the probiotic yogurt. I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's a marketing thing, but really you don't need any special yogurt that's marketed as probiotic yogurt. If you're getting real, whole food yogurt, it will have active cultures in it, which is what you're looking for. So fermented foods, kefir, cheese, yogurt, like I mentioned, that's my go-to is yogurt. But anything like that, sauerkraut, those types of foods will be good for that. Let's see, we did stress, sleep, diet, exercise. So there's actually a lot of evidence I found that studies that showed that exercise was more effective than antidepressants at producing, at regulating and stimulating serotonin and the endorphins in your brain. So I don't think that exercise by itself, I don't think any of these things by themselves are the one solution. I think it's a bigger thing, looking at the human body as a whole, and my 4 pillars of health idea.
Filming the whole street.
Huh?
I see you walking out
Yeah, I'm making a YouTube video, so I come down here, I walk, talk a little bit, come back.
Okay. I was just curious. I see you walking down the street. It's like she's filming the street for some reason.
Yeah. Try and remember where I was at. short conversation there. Oh, exercise. Okay, so yeah, they found that exercise, like I was saying, I don't believe that any of these things are the one solution, but exercise certainly plays a super important role. Anecdotally, myself, like some of my like darker depression, I remember running at like 2 or 3 in the morning because, like, I mean, running in general is kind of like my go-to in the worst of it, but it to me it was more of a breaking up of negative energy, and then a lot of times when I would go on runs, my perspectives would change or my outlook on, it was able to reframe things. Scientifically, they found though that exercise stimulates neurogenesis very, very well. So, like I was talking earlier about the parts of your brain that shut down when that HPA axis is dysregulated, or when when you have this HPA axis dysfunction, and that the hippocampus campus shutting down, which is your sense of purpose. Exercise stimulates all those nerves to regrow. So it remakes all those pathways. So this part of your brain that's been shut down, that's for however long, or that has been at reduced function because of the depression or because of the HPA axis dysfunction, it's now able to start back up, and it allows these nerves to stimulates their growth. So I think it's a very important part of this puzzle, is being able to get those to regrow. So start back from the top here, summarize, do a quick summary, make sure there's nothing I missed. Stress, managing your stress, finding a way to manage stress. Like I said, there's a handout on my website. There's meditation, yoga, tai chi, behavioral cognitive therapy that I had mentioned, and then mushrooms. Like I said, I'll have to either, if I don't have a video up soon, feel free to message me about that. There's tons of, I've read quite a handful of books and looked at a bunch of research on how to dose either micro or macro for the effects of each. I would probably lean more toward micro, but I guess that's more personal preference. Sleep, making sure you're practicing, good sleep hygiene. If you do have sleep issues, even after what I had said, like even after kind of my sleep recommendations or ways to get better sleep hygiene, I would absolutely seek out a sleep specialist. Sleep is a very important part of our health. It's essential. You can't not sleep, and if you're not having good sleep, again, you're gonna have a lot of health negative health effects. Diet. So we talked about short chain fatty acids. Cooked and cooled potatoes, probably your number one for that, to be honest. Vitamin B12. All the B vitamins are important, but vitamin B12 is the one that usually gets missed, or that's the one that is most common for deficiency. Vitamin D, that's getting sunlight, and freshwater fatty fish, as I mentioned, salmon is super good for it. And then the bacteria, the live active cultures, fermented foods, yogurt. And then talked about exercise, the importance of exercise. And I think, like I had said, I don't think that any one of these things is going to be the ticket, but I think that all of them together, looking at human health as this, like I said, my 4 pillars of human health. And if any of them are not functioning properly, if there's a area of concern in any of the pillars, you can be experiencing negative health effects. So I think it's important to identify those and look at the whole picture. I don't think it's a one, I don't think it's a one golden ticket fix. I think in our Western medicine, we always kind of look at like a pill, or just a pill. What pill can I take to fix this problem? But I think that this problem is not one that can be fixed with a pill. I think this is a problem that has to be looked at in a different light. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for listening, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, ask me questions. See you later.